All right, guys, welcome back to Silver Bullet Podcast. I am, your host, Colton Zek, alongside James Jimmy Ogle.
Jimmy.
What's going on, man?
My boys call me Jimmy.
Is it really?
Dad or Jimmy.
Back when I was, just coming into this place, that's like what everybody called you, was Jimmy. So I was like, I just thought that was your name. What are we getting into today?
We need to talk about some direction.
Oh, man. If you guys hear a little bit of background noise or a little bit of music, we're getting our podcast in during an open facility time. So you might hear some cool tunes in the back, but I'm sure I can buffer out some of those.
He's getting better at the editing.
Yeah, working on it. Stuff's kind of tricky, but getting it figured out. So I guess, me and you and Bryce, our other coach here, we all kind of came to an understanding and kind of a consensus, if you will, that there needed to be another direction talk. Right. I guess, I don't know. There's a lot of people hung up on this whole 2020 year, and it would appear that some people have just kind of thrown in the towel and they're like, well, gonna put all my eggs in the 2021 basket.
Yeah, the closer we get to 2021, so many individuals, they forget that we still have a lot of September, all of October, November, and December left. I mean, a quarter of our year.
You got a quarter of the year left
to continue to work on our goals. And we had the conversation when we first came back from COVID. Like, we were not going to be as I would say militant about the direction, the path, our evaluations, and all of that, just because we knew it probably wasn't in everyone's best interest.
Oh yeah.
Now
there's a lot of learning that we've done the past few years. Right. I would suggest that.
Yeah, but we're seeing now that it's time.
Oh yeah. So essentially, let's just kind of play out recent years of what we see, and we're referencing our GymReclaim here and what we see with our members. And Reclaim is a home of over 200 of our own members and clients. And when we get close to the holiday season, there's usually one of two people that you become.
Right.
You become overly aggressive at trying to finish or complete a goal that you either had established earlier on or that you have an end date for.
Yeah, been guilty of that.
Yeah, likewise. Or you're the person that when Halloween gets here, now it's just kind of a party until 2021 gets here.
Yeah.
Right? Then I've been on that side as well.
I forget the lecture. This was probably a couple years ago, but what was the statistic? How much body fat an individual gains from Halloween through the rest 7%. Of the year?
Like 7 to 9%.
It's something nuts.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting though on how they put that study together. But yeah, it was something like from November 1 to January 2021 to New Year's. It was just based on family events, obviously holiday events. If you're lucky enough like me and your birthday falls a week before Christmas, like you have those events in there as well. Yeah. Like there's a lot of get-togethers, a lot of social gatherings that people have a hard time navigating. And one thing leads to another. Before you know it, you are sick, tired, and unhealthy.
Right.
And you can throw a lot away in a short amount of time. Body will always take the easy way out, so to speak, and your mind will play tricks on you to get that as well. Which is a lot of the talks that we have with people as we get close to holiday season.
Yeah. This year we're just trying to get ahead of this as much as possible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess our topic today, and we're kind of flying off the cuff. We don't have notes on this. We're talking from experience. So this is going to be kind of organic stuff here. But essentially, I kind of envision us covering a couple different suggestions and ways to create a little bit of direction as you near the holidays, and then even how to get through them. And the holidays might look a little different this year, but you're still going to have the same problems as far as the same opportunities to negate everything that you've done up until now.
Yeah, our society, we consume as far as like goods we purchase, food, obviously, and this stint of these next few weeks, or once we get to Halloween, gathering together with family is a great thing. Getting together for birthdays, celebrating, Christmas, New Year's, all of those things, like those are fantastic things. But if every single one of those meals, I'm not even talking about specific day, like if you're getting together with family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
right,
and you're like, yeah, well, it's just the time of year, like you have to have a little bit of a mindset of what you want to achieve in that time, and yeah, some direction to reach a specific goal. If your goal is to gain weight and enjoy the holidays, then go for it.
Have at it.
Right.
I think, and that's usually where we found that our presence as a facility, as far as keeping people accountable to attendance of coming to workouts and goals they had, people became very irritated. And it's just because, I guess from a mindset perspective, like we use the entire calendar year in order to achieve a specific goal.
Right.
If you're nearing the holidays and you need to back away from your goal, like you need to go ahead and own that and make sure that you acknowledge that with the person who's trying to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more irritating than working with a specific person or working with a group of people, and then you get to this time of year where yes, we are celebrating, but there are still work to be done, and then the coach or your accountability partner feeling as if they care more about your goal than you do. That's a quick way to lose a lot of steam and a lot of relationship work as far as you and your accountability partner.
Yeah.
We deal with that quite a bit. So I think most people, when you get into the holidays, they either completely want to fall off of their goal just because they knew what it took out of them, both physically and mentally. All right, and as the holidays approach, and you get to be with family, and you get to be with friends, and you get to take your mind off of some other things, it's more of a invitation to relax a little bit. Obviously, our culture kind of celebrates the different holidays with specific food, specific meals, and we all have these comfort things that we gravitate towards.
Right.
But if you are the person who has something you are trying to attain during this time, have some damn discipline.
Yep.
Seriously. It is not that hard.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And here's where I get in the most arguments with a lot of people. And forgive me if I sound a little irritated on this. I'm about ready to I'm 24 hours away from leaving for vacation.
He's pumped.
So I'm pumped, and I'm just, whatever. So
if for anyone that doesn't know, sorry, I need to speak into this a little bit. Being a coach is one of the hardest things to do. It really is. And I see it in Colton's eyes right now, I've been there, and that's why we have vacations. That's why we plan specific times off. We want to be refreshed when we work with you guys. Trying to motivate unmotivated individuals all the time is very
draining.
It drains you. So he needs a vacation. He'll come back and be ready to go.
Absolutely. But back on my original point, if I can remember exactly where I was going with that, there's so many reasons to make excuses for a lack of progress. It almost becomes a cultural norm to be like, I was doing really good, but then my sister's wedding came up, or then I had a family get together, or my college roommates, we all got together and shit hit the fan type thing. That is the lamest excuse for a reason to get off your goals. You know what a good excuse would be? A death in the family, having some kind of traumatic event,
something unexpected
that your body wasn't prepared for. Obviously COVID would have been a great example, but we've all used it to an extreme, and we should be done with that.
It's time to move on.
It's time to move on. Okay. So
Iowa has, right?
Idaho, sorry. Idaho, not Iowa.
Yeah.
Idaho. So I don't know, and part of our job as coaches here is not to try to wear too many hats, but in some respect, we are playing a psychological game with our clients, and we have to kind of unravel the whys of, how we create actions based on emotions, and how we essentially deal with all of our environmental stresses and you know, how to better situate ourselves for success if it is indeed what we truly want.
Yeah.
But there's so much mixed emotion as far as, you know, most people are like, I want to lose this or that. And after watching and observing actions as you get, you know, months into training, and then you have one little slip up, or you had one holiday or one this and that, it's like, no, you don't really want that. You kind of want that.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have that, but you're not gonna work for it in the times that matter. Working in the gym's easy. It's the workout side.
Yeah. Well, the thing you brought up, and I think we've done a better job as far as a lot of, like, you know, gyms, fitness facilities. We want to stick to truth as much as possible. Meaning, like, we're going to tell you what you need to hear. We are going to express truth to you, and you might be upset with it, but again, you have to fall back on that. Like, I'm not lying to you what you need to do to achieve this specific whatever.
It just cracks me up. There's no advantage to me to lie to you about something that you would do and it would be wrong and it wouldn't work. Like, what advantage do I have for you? Like, yeah, I know what you're getting at, but
well, I used to, again, I'm not saying any names, but I've worked with individuals who would lie at evaluation time just to show the client that they had better results, and I'm like, that's the worst. Like, let them know they had bad results, because hopefully it shouldn't be a reflection of you if you're doing a good job. It should show them what they need to change or improve. The main thing I'm getting at, you said it, talking about like weddings and everything. If you're using those as an excuse, you're being a victim.
Absolutely.
You know, and you have to identify, am I the problem? Because if I am the problem, what do I need to fix so I can reach that particular thing?
Yeah.
You know,
and keep in mind here, guys, like, we are going to give you the truth that you need to make things happen. Like I said, I don't have any reason to falsify any data to make myself or make you feel better or whatever. But like, if you do have a goal to lose X amount of body fat, or to hit this accomplishment, whether it's aesthetic or performance or whatever, if you have a goal, you have a quarter of the year remaining.
Yeah.
And now it's time to realize that the road that is coming has a lot of peaks and valleys, and it's going to have a lot of variations and deviations. Like, you are going to need to figure out who is in your circle, who is here to help you with that.
Right.
Okay. Because I guarantee you, if you spend the most amount of time with the wrong people, like, you might as well cut bait and wait till 2021. Yeah, I can guarantee it.
January is a time, not really, it's actually not January, it's more February, where you see an uptick in new memberships, but we also see a lot of lost members October, November, December, especially those who don't do anything in in those 3 months.
So when you are, looking ahead, as you get into, let's see here, Thanksgiving, obviously Christmas, we just saw that Christmas is on a Friday this year. New Year's will be on a Thursday, so that means a New Year's Day that you'll probably have off will be on a Friday. You have a lot of extended weekend holidays coming up. What are you going to do in order to prepare for that?
Yeah.
Okay. What does your goal, quote unquote, require you to do? Because here's the thing. Here's one of my favorite sayings in the world. It's not my rule. It's physiology's rule. Okay. Most people think I'm the bad person when I tell them that, hey, you can't be doing this crap, otherwise it ain't going to work.
Right.
And they're like, why would you say that? And I said, it's not my rule. This is physiology's rule. This is how stress and adaptation works. Okay. So for your goal, what does your goal demand you to do, and how are you going to do that during this time? Is it 100% revolving around your gym and your coach? Good chance, probably not.
Yeah.
It's a good chance that it's going to revolve heavily around you, the actions that you take, or the actions that you don't take. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of, specific instances without, going into, personal detail with other individuals. But this is the ultimate issue when we get to the back half of the year, is how to navigate holiday seasons and how to continually progress. Because at 2021, in my mind, you shouldn't be figuring out a completely new goal. You should be revising the one that you just did,
right?
Or adding to it, or upgrading your next goal. I think you should have some evolving goals, but you shouldn't be completely changing it up or God forbid, restarting the goal that you didn't hit.
Yeah.
And set yourself up on the exact same path that you did the year before, and then blame COVID for everything like everybody else does. So, what do we do now? It is, we're recording this podcast. It is September 15th. We're way out ahead of this.
Yeah.
So if you listen to this, you have no excuse if you actually have a goal.
Well, the number one thing I think everyone has to do, I do this, like you said, find your circle, but you have to acknowledge that there are going to be periods and times probably in that season where you're not going to get in your workout, or that you're going to eat food that might not be advantageous towards your goal. But then what's plan B? No one makes plan B or even plan C or plan D. Like what are you going to rely on when this specific circumstance does in fact actually happen? Thinking in that way.
Sure. I think it's funny that usually when I work with nutrition clients, like we will have a plan B as far as, hey, if you're expecting this to be at the get together as far as food goes, like you're expecting there to be turkey, whatever. Your backup plan is ham. Your backup plan is saying no. Right. That's it.
Yeah.
It goes to plan C and that's done. Okay.
No prime rib?
No prime rib. Okay. So I love prime rib. Do a lot of people still do prime rib? We do.
My mom makes prime rib every year, and yeah, I would. If it meant that I couldn't eat other meals, I'm having prime rib.
So essentially, so you get to the point. We're all human. We're gonna have get-togethers, and we're gonna have days where the meal that's provided is the one that we are going to consume. Okay. What are you going to do afterwards?
Right.
What is going to get you essentially back on track? More than likely, let's just assume that, in my family, if you're doing Christmas meal, you're having ham, green bean casserole, baked rolls, I don't know, what's the sugar cream pie, and some of the very high inflammation, okay? What are you going to do next?
The next day for me, I'm going to fast and I'm going to get moving.
Yeah, so that's the theoretical question, as more like just proposing the question, but you out there, what is your next plan of action?
Yeah.
Because most people would be like, I'll just go home and sit and sulk and feel like garbage for the next 20 hours.
Or I'll eat those leftovers tomorrow morning.
You're right, or plan to eat the leftovers. So you can have that one meal, be done, and get right back on track.
Yeah.
Okay, fasting is an excellent way to do that, especially when you're talking about healing, detoxing, and kind of evacuating inflammation. Okay, especially when you're talking about chronic inflammation. Help regulate blood sugar again. That a lot of these things are probably needed for whatever your goal is.
Right.
All right. But let's say out of your control. Let's say you had your workout scheduled for the week. Okay, you are getting into the last few weeks of your training program or whatever. Expecting big things to happen, and all of a sudden work calls you out of town or whatnot. What's your game plan? You're going to miss 4 days at the gym. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? Nobody waits, nobody has this figured out until it happens. And I think that's where you get into trouble, because everybody has something that comes up during the holidays.
Right.
Everybody does. And it's all different, but everybody has something come up.
Sure.
What's the game plan?
Yeah.
Right? What would you do in that situation?
If I was caught out of town?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we provide at-home workouts for our customers. So if you don't have a facility that does that, I think you should probably have a workout plan that you can do in which it's all body weight generated.
Right.
Again, it just goes back to consistency. If you can't work out with weights, that doesn't mean you can't work out.
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't move. It doesn't mean you can't do something.
Right. And I would 100% agree with you. There's a good little plug there. You got to find a way to move. Doesn't matter if you're, trying to peak for powerlifting. Like if you go do some air squats and lunges and some body weight RDLs, that's serving you better than doing nothing.
Right.
100%. Go back to the crappy food idea. You have your meal or your alcohol. We didn't even bring that up.
Yeah.
Or whatnot. Let's say that the next best step, okay, maybe your next best step is making sure you have at least 8.5 to 9 hours of sleep. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that's a good one. Rather than staying up all night, I've acknowledged that I've had this horrible meal. I'm going to go home now. I'm going to go to bed. That way I can essentially kickstart my body's healing process. It can start detox while I'm sleeping, like all those good things happening. So there are decisions to be made. If you make a bad one, what's the next best decision?
Right.
And there should be no contemplating what that is. You should already know what it is, right? And so that's why, here in September, start to make that out in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and we talked about like the food. If you're the individual that prepares the food, like let's say you have everyone over to your house for the the gathering. In my opinion, if you're wanting to get back on track with your goal, give all that food for individuals to take with them. Don't keep stuff at home. I don't care who it is. I am a very disciplined person, and if I have ice cream anywhere in sight, I just won't eat it. No, I'll go up to the garage and eat it by myself. Like if it's in the house, I'm going to find a way to eat it.
Yeah. We do talk about that quite a bit as far as setting yourself up for success from a visual standpoint in the kitchen. Like if you have problem snacking, like the last thing you want to have as a visual stimulus are snacks all over the counter. Like if you have chips and you have nuts and you have all kinds of goodies scattered around the counter, like guess what your signals are being sent to your brain? Like get it out.
Yeah, that's one of the easiest coaching things. Like when you get home from work and you haven't had enough calories and your brain is just done, you're not gonna like start getting out the kitchen knives and the cutting board and make it like dense meal. It's like I want the potato chips right now.
Yeah. So the easiest way to combat that is to don't have it in the house.
Right.
So when you have those meals and somebody says, hey, can you take this with you? You can say no. You really can. Okay, I promise you can. And your family will still love you.
They definitely will.
They will, I promise you. But you could use that as an opportunity to explain why. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are scared to have that discussion with their family members.
Right.
I don't know if it's a fear of being disowned or to show that you, in fact, have a goal and others don't, and that's threatening to the other party. Like, there's a lot of different psychological aspects to that conversation, but that could open the doors to a lot of beneficial things.
Sure.
Back in the day, between my mom and my dad, when they were together, it was we were farmers on a chunk of land that were raising cattle and pigs and row crops. Okay, I played sports, came home, helped with chores. That was it. When I went off to school, one of the very first things one of the last things that I did for would have been sophomore year for my spring term class for nutrition was I had to essentially write a letter to a family member or a close person that reflected all of the things that needed to change in their dietary lifestyle so that way they could have increased longevity. So essentially you were taking every little piece of physiology and presenting it against a person so that way they were like, holy crap,
right?
Like I could die at any minute. It's like, so I wrote it to my dad. It was not a very good conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I aced the class, by the way. But I had to write that letter to my dad in a presentation manner where it's like, look, you continue to do these things and like bad things are going to end up happening.
Yeah.
And my mom was able to take a lot of the information and apply it as well. Today, right now, they're both leading healthy lifestyles better than they ever have before. And they ask me questions and there's interaction between us and there's discussion. Like, that opening, thing that happened would have been 2013, 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like, that opened the gate to where we are now.
Yeah.
All right. There was no disowning, but there was a little bit of like giving me a hard time, like, cut the shit. I'm going to eat my baked potato if I want to, type thing.
Yeah.
But over time, it started to blossom into something. Like, you can take advantage of that time.
Sure.
With a family member or just a specific family and be like, look, this is why I'm not taking leftovers home. Yeah. Because of this. And it might spark something pretty interesting.
Yeah, the conversation has to be, is this about me or is this about the food?
Right. I think it's a good way to put it. And even Emily and I talked on the last podcast, like, I still think there's a lot of people that look at food as food instead of food as fuel. And it sounds so cliche, and I know you hear people say that, and I know it's dumb sounding, but it's like if you really looked at food as its design purpose, we would have absolutely no issue with things like this.
Right. Health wouldn't be a consequence from food.
For sure. Yeah, well, illness.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we wouldn't have to worry about that at all. It's just over time, just culturally, how we have, you know, and it's not just the U.S., it's everywhere.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not just U.S., it's just for a place of gathering, it must be around food. But it doesn't say anywhere that the gathering has to be around shitty food, things that will potentially kill you.
Well, we should do a podcast on this. Do we eat food or do we eat food-like products?
Oh, that sounds like a train wreck. I'm gonna have to do my research. No, 100%, because I still have a lot of people that ask me like, "Hey, is this good?" I was like, "No," and like, I don't understand. It says wheat on the package. It's like, that's why, because the wheat here in the U.S. sucks.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that would be a very interesting topic to get on. But yeah, I don't know where my train of thought was going on that, but for a lot of us, the food aspect of it, as far as what we consider food, or what nationally we consider food, like it's almost disturbing that we are able to put a food label on this and be like, hey, this is safe for your consumption.
Yeah.
Just an FYI.
Yeah.
And people buy it and they eat it all the time, and they think that you should just naturally have headaches at 2 p.m. every day, and you shouldn't sleep more than 2 hours without having to get up in the morning or get up in the middle of the night. And they're like, that's just part of getting old.
Unfortunately, it just starts at such a young age. Like school lunches, and I understand why we do the things the way that we do them, but it doesn't mean we can't change them.
Or at least take some steps to try to change them. Yeah, the school lunch thing, you know, and even looking back into like what I used to eat every day before so senior year, I had my weightlifting class at noon, and I ate at 11:15. So I was smashing my barbecue chicken sandwiches and drinking my old school Explode right there in the cafeteria. So like,
ready to go.
Yeah, you know, and I get why they do it the way they do it, but I can assure you that my children will pack their own lunch every day. As it sits right now, my children are 1 and 3, and they are the only ones that have their lunch going to daycare. It's just, if you have the opportunity to feed your kids nourishing stuff, why wouldn't you do it?
Sure. Well, yeah, culturally, we have to elevate, number one, the education, but also
goldfish is not
accountability.
nourishing.
No, it is not.
Anyways, that's another tangent we don't want to get on,
right?
You know, as far as time is concerned. So we've already talked about, you know, as you approach the holiday season, obviously you need to revisit your goal. Obviously, make sure that your goal is still intact. Okay, if you are still consciously working towards your goal, when you get to Halloween, that doesn't mean it's the automatic shut-off switch.
No.
Okay, it's not. You need to keep pushing. We talked about, you know, how to navigate, you know, food as far as like events, and the same goes with alcohol. Like just so we didn't used to be the bump on the log. Like we would bring a 6-pack to a party, but we'd leave it there. And who says there's a law against that?
Right.
Leave it there. Okay, have 1 or 2 if you're there, but like don't bring the rest home with you.
Sure.
So leaving the food there and having, you know, a little bit of understanding of why, maybe even opening up a discussion with some of the family members when they're like, hey, what's up your butt type thing, you know what I mean? It's just, if you have these open-ended conversations, it's just like if you have anything on your chest, get it out there and you feel much better. And there's a great chance that when you do it as far as, you know, trying to maintain a goal and trying to achieve something, like you're probably going to get some outside support that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
So like,
my quick little story here. My mom one time, and this is when, you know, I had a lot more respect for her as far as the things that I tried to teach her. I had a lot of relatives who were just, this before Jade and I were married, giving me crap about the decisions that I was or, you know, wasn't making. And my mom just finally stepped in and was like, look, all of you say that you want the things that James talks about, but none of you are willing to do the things necessary to actually achieve that. And then everybody was just kind of like, I haven't had any issues since then.
Yeah, I bet not. Yeah, all it takes is one person to be fiery on your side, and things will go good. It's gotten to the point now that, you know, like if we're going to a family thing, or my mom's, or even my dad's, like, they're asking me, hey, what can we have in the kitchen for the kids? And that's a huge thing for me. Because, like, don't get me wrong, like, my kids don't eat perfect all the time, but, like, when they eat waffles and pancakes and whatnot, like, their face swell up. They look like they've been stung by bees. They really do. And I feel horrible about it. And so every time that happens, I make sure to show my parents, like, look at what my children look like right now. They did not get stung by a bunch of bees on the way home. This is just the consequence of what they've been eating. And they're like, yeah, I absolutely get it. And then they themselves cut that out.
And I know it's everything we're talking about is it's an emotional subject. So I want to be clear in saying, just because you make bad choices doesn't necessarily mean, like, you're not a bad person. But you're still making a bad choice.
And that's an understanding of being, from a coaching standpoint, we had this conversation earlier, is a conversation about being sympathetic versus empathetic. I can sympathize with you in a situation that you were in and understand where you were coming from and kind of reason with you in that aspect. But I will refuse to empathize with you. Because I have a job as a coach, as your instructor, as your mentor, whatever you want to consider your relationship with your trainer or coach. We have a job that we are inevitably failing because of your actions. I'm not going to go lay in that bed with you. That does nothing for me as a coach who is trying to, better themselves to hopefully help better other people. Right? So there's a huge difference between being sympathetic and empathetic, and I will refuse to empathize.
If you're drowning in water, we'll throw out a hand, we'll throw out a stick, a rope, whatever. But we're not jumping in there with you.
No.
We'll get other people to help out.
So, and that's just not us being hard asses. That's how we've learned to manage these situations. All right. I believe myself to have a very large and caring heart, but that also is a double-edged sword, because that means that I usually care about your goal more than you do, and when that starts to happen, that's when I get pissed off. So it's just one of those things you have to be able to navigate and communicate with the people around you. But
back to goals.
Back to the goals. I think, especially if let's say you're somebody let's say you've had the same goal for like 3 years, 4 years. Let's take it a little farther. Let's say that your goal is to lose 20 pounds and 10% body fat this year, whatever that year was. And let's say you're unsuccessful in doing that for the last 3 years. And it's always come up to the holiday season when, really all crap hits the fan.
I'll do it next year.
How do you identify the culprit? Or better yet, is the goal even realistic for you?
I think an individual has to assess, like, if you've been working on the same thing over and over and over, well, is the goal realistic? Or do you need to make some change that you haven't made yet?
I mean, we can always look at, and it's always easier said than done for a lot of changes, especially when you're talking about physical action. It's always easier said than done. Everybody says that, but yet some people still can get it done. So it's not completely nonsense that we bring it up, but if there's some obvious changes that you have to make and you haven't made them willingly, knowing that you probably should, your goal is now unrealistic. And I think people need to own that and acknowledge that. It's a tough pill to swallow. Like, look, if I am 70 pounds overweight, my work told me that my BMI is 20 points too high and my insurance premiums are going to go up. And I've told my coaches at the respected facility that I work at that I need to lose 50 pounds and 10% body fat by the end of the year. I will make the workouts. I will be somewhat consistent in making the workouts anyways. But good and dang well you are not going to give up drinking beer with your friends every Thursday night, or you are not going to give up having your little cookie snacks with your kids at the end of the night. Like, those things all mean well. They're great actions that help support something more as far as a friendship and a relationship, but they have made your goal unrealistic.
I deal with this with a few of my last hormone coaching clients. I try to navigate, like, what is the major stressor, if that's the thing that's causing some kind of disruption. And a lot of times we'll figure out, unfortunately, it could be a marriage relationship. It could be a job. And I'm not saying individuals need to end their relationship with their spouse, but I'll use the job as an example. If it is in fact the job, and you're not either willing to let that go, work less hours, find something else, there's really nothing else the coach can do. Yeah. Like if we've pinpointed this specific thing, I can't take care of your stress for you. We've identified this as the thing that's causing the disruption. I've helped you out as much as possible.
Yeah, we can do as much recommending on stress relieving practices as we can, but ultimately, if the stress is continuous, the stress will adapt as well to your coping mechanisms,
right.
Which will deem them really ineffective over time.
Yep.
And then where you at? Back to square one. Mm-hmm. So I think when you're considering all these different things as you get into the holiday season, one, assess if your goal is still realistic. If it's not, that doesn't mean cut bait, wait till 2021, make an adjustment, make a revision to your goal, okay? You still have a quarter of the year to go.
Right.
Good things can happen in 3-4 months, okay? If you know that family events and gatherings are going to be the biggest problem, start having those conversations in advance. Don't wait until the day before when they're expecting to have you bring a cheesecake that you're like, oh, by the way. Start making those conversations now. Be like, hey, I'm in the middle of something. I don't want it to interfere with our family gatherings and what the meaning of the season is, and I don't want there to be hard feelings, but I'm really working on something that means something to me, and it'd mean a lot if I could stay on track with it. People will respect you for that if you have that conversation outright.
For sure.
You can't just wait until the day before and hunker down and be ashamed of it.
Well, and we've talked about this all the time. There are other people more than likely in that family setting who are like, they're looking for a voice.
Oh, for sure.
And they're like, wow, someone finally said that we don't need 2 entire tables of dessert. Thank you,
Yeah. So having those conversations ahead of time will be huge for helping you keep on track. And then I skipped over the last one, but making sure you have your game plan set as far as game plan A or option A, option B, option C.
Plan to fail.
If you don't plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
You gotta have a plan. Oh, you plan in case never mind. I got you. Sorry.
Make a plan for failure. That's all right.
Yeah. So there's it's not like anything really is changing from the bulk majority of the year. You still are setting goals, creating game plans for them, and making the next best step if you were to ever deviate away from them, whether it be mildly or severely.
Right.
People need to grasp this.
Yeah, I think this podcast would be great for obviously individuals entering into holiday season, but those who are going to start up in January, something great they need to hear as well.
Apply all of these as you get into January.
Right.
I hate the idea that January 2020 or January 1 is when you need to have a New Year's resolution or a new goal. Like, you can set a new goal anytime you want and set it for a year if you like. It doesn't have to start on January 1.
Right.
I don't know. I don't really understand that, but you don't have to wait for something bad to happen before you really have to start figuring out a better process. I think it's the best way to put that.
Prevention.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What else would you add to this?
I think we pretty much hit on everything. And again, we're talking a lot to a group of individuals who probably want to work through something in this season. If you have the mindset and you are 100% confident in your decision making, and you're like, you know what, during the holiday time, I'm good. I just want to chill. I want to relax. I'm going to drink more. I'm going to eat more, and I'm going to be merry. And you can own up to that, and you can live with it. I applaud your confidence in your ability and just to pursue on, because we just want people to be real and honest with us.
Yeah, I have no problem if you're like, hey, your goals suck. Here's my goals. I want to smash a 6-pack a night. I want to feel good and relax with my friends with my feet up. Like, dude, I'm down. Go get you some.
Yeah.
But if you come in here bitching about your back squat and your back hurting, I'm going to refer you to that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So just know that everything has a consequence.
For sure.
But if you do own up to your goal and your actions match what your goal is, like, you have no reason but to succeed through the holidays.
Yeah.
And you will.
We created the Here to Party guide more so we could just be like, if that's what you're doing, like, we're okay with that, because we're going to quit trying to, like,
push you in a direction you don't want to go.
Punch you in the nose when you tell us that your knees hurt and we knew what you did over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you know, and obviously this is in reference to our facility, but like, even if you're getting personal training at a facility, you know, just one-on-one, you're like, hey, you know, tell your trainer if you want to just chill and hang out and like use your personal training sessions for, I guess, healing, you know, after a day of bad decisions. Like, do that, but have that conversation. Don't be doing it behind the coach's back and trying to get him not to see it, because if he's any good of a coach, he's gonna know really easily. So it's just be open and transparent with the people that you are going to be around, and you shouldn't have a problem.
Right.
I really don't think so. Anyways, I think that is a good wrap on that one.
He's ready for vacation.
I'm ready for vacation, dude. I head out to Idaho in just about 24 hours.
Yeah.
So excited about it, but we're not what I would consider super close to vacation, but or super close to the holidays, but they're coming and they'll be here soon. Like, It seems like September got here before we knew it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So guys, have a game plan. Work with somebody to develop your game plan. That is, if you have a goal. If you don't have a goal, shame on you. You got to be working towards something. My goodness. Any last words you want to add to this?
No. See you soon.
Sweet, man. All right. Well, this will air while I'm on vacation, but we won't miss a beat. We'll have one up every Thursday here, guys.
Rolling.
We'll keep them rolling. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast. We'll catch you next time. I'm Colton.
I'm Jimmy.
You're Jimmy. All right, this has been the Silver Bullet Podcast. See you guys.